see you with another girl, I'll kill her.
And, okay, I just, like, what? She's basically like, if I even see you looking at another girl, then she's gonna have to die! Welcome back, everyone. Episode 14, Friend. So the episode starts off right where we left off last time with Light exchanged, yeah, that's right. With Light on his same old bullshit.
I'll arrange for her to meet Elle. She'll tell me his name, and then I eliminate the entire task force.
Oh, come on, Light. Are you really gonna kill all of them? Is that even necessary? I mean, you've met them. You know they're not even remotely equipped to find you without help from Ryuzaki. Especially since, in Ryuzaki's absence, they'd be taking orders from your father, who's adamant about you being innocent. Killing the whole team just seems unnecessary, but I guess it is the best way to ensure that you're 100% in the clear. It's just that, even your dad? Honestly, I wonder how Misa would handle that. I mean, as the one with the shinigami eyes, she'd likely deliver the killing signature on all of them. So I wonder how she would feel about Light opting to kill his own father, especially as someone whose parents were murdered.
And when that's done, I'll kill her too. She's the only person who knows Kira's true identity. I can't let her live much longer.
Well, I guess it's a moot point, seeing as she won't be around much longer after that. Well, in theory, anyway. Anyway, Misa asks Light if she can meet his shinigami, and he obliges.
Light, darling, do you know how to kill a shinigami?
Did you just call me darling?
So I started watching the anime with the Japanese subtitles on, just to see if there are any differences in verbiage, and interestingly enough, according to the subtitles, she doesn't call him darling. She calls him by his first name, to which he responds by saying, "What did you say?" Apparently, in Japan, it can be considered disrespectful to refer to someone by their first name, unless you're very close to them. Obviously, Misa does it because she's in love with him, but Light's a little put off by it. Anyway, I thought it was kind of interesting how they managed to make the scene still work in the English dub, despite the cultural difference.
Do you mind if I call you Knight instead? Because you're like my knight in shining armor, you know?
Oh, just stop, Misa. You are embarrassing yourself. Anyway, we then transition back to Task Force headquarters where Ryuzaki is in the process of going through all of the footage from Aoyama.
I think it's very likely that Kira and the second Kira made contact with each other there on that day.
Again, if Misa had just waited until after the 30th, then this wouldn't be happening. It's so wild to me that she was smart enough to not only manipulate the task force with the whole Tokyo Dome stunt, but Light as well with the veiled misdirection of the note blue. But she's also so impulsive that she didn't think to hold off on sending a response until after more than one of those dates had passed. But, whatever.
Also, Mr. Yagami, please ask Mr. Mogi to start following Light.
And that's the smart play. Given the fact that only Light and Matsuda were there that day, it makes sense to keep tabs on Light as a suspect. To be more precise, there's no one else you could suspect. Anyway, we then head back to Light's room where Misa has just finished explaining exactly how to kill a shinigami.
So, if a shinigami has feelings for a human and kills someone else in order to extend that human's life beyond its natural end, the shinigami will die?
That's right.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And not gonna lie, I really wish Rim had called Misa out, but I guess I'll just have to settle for this little head turn, which, to be fair, does say a lot.
Good luck trying to find a shinigami who'd volunteer to do that.
Meanwhile, Rim is over there like that fucking puppet meme.
By the way, where did you send all those tapes from, the ones that went to the TV stations?
Now that is interesting. I don't think I would have caught this had I not focused on that part in the video for episode 11, but it looks like the task force really isn't sharing any information with him, because we know for a fact that they know the tapes came from Osaka, which leads me to wonder, what exactly do they talk about when they're all together? Like, if he doesn't know simple information such as where the tapes came from, then what else are they keeping from him?
Let's see. Osaka the first time, then Tokyo. This other one from Nagano. I took the bullet train every time, so that way the police couldn't pinpoint my location.
Time for some more location investigations, and this one was pretty eye-opening. So the first tape she sent was from Osaka, which, as we've discussed, is about 7 hours away from the Kanto region. However, the second tape was sent from Tokyo, which is a hell of a lot closer. It's so close, in fact, that Tokyo is literally a part of the Kanto region. So that implies that she was so impulsive after getting that response from Kira that she grabbed her camera, recorded her response, and then likely went to the nearest mailbox to send it in, which is honestly wild, but when you consider the fact that she literally walked to his house after this most recent broadcast, I guess it's not really that surprising for her. Anyway, the third tape came from Nagano, which is a little further, but it's still not nearly as far away as Osaka is, which again speaks to her impulsivity, but it also speaks to her intelligence. I say that because she knew that sending it from the same location twice could potentially cause a problem, and so she controlled herself enough to travel to a nearby city to send the tapes out there instead. Anyway, Light then instructs her to send in a final tape from a location she hasn't used before, saying,
I've decided to stop searching for Kira. However, I still plan to help Kira in his mission. I will share my power with others who I feel are worthy, and I will encourage them to do the same.
So, two things about this one. One, I find it funny that Light is essentially having a conversation with himself, seeing as he wrote as the original Kira in episode 12 and is now telling the second Kira what to say on her next tape. Anyway, secondly, the addition of sharing his power is kind of brilliant. He says it himself that it's meant to throw off their investigation, and that seems like a really smart way to do it. He's basically implementing the same strategy that Ryuzaki used back in episode 8. But honestly, the idea of 1,500 agents is far less terrifying than the idea of multiple Kiras out there killing people. Anyway, Light gives her one final instruction, saying that regardless of what happens, whether she's brought in for questioning or arrested, she can never bring up anything about him or the notebook to law enforcement, adding,
As long as they don't get a hold of that notebook, there's no proof that you did anything.
and that's a valid point. Without the notebook, there's really nothing they can do to her. Well, at least not legally, but we'll get to our BDSM arc a little later.
Can you promise to say nothing?
I promise. So this must mean that we're officially boyfriend and girlfriend now, aren't we?
Why? Why are you just, oh my gosh, are you even listening? I would not feel comfortable about letting her leave here. Like, he just gave a very serious speech about ensuring their safety, and she just, like, what even was that? Some Scouts honor bullshit? Misa, this is not a game. You need to focus on what's important. And no, I'm not talking about whether or not he wants to fuck you, because spoiler alert, he does, just not in the way you're hoping for. I need you to get your shit together, okay?
Get your shit together. Get it all together and put it in a backpack. All your shit, so it's together.
I'd like to add one condition. You have to go on a date with me at least once a week.
Oh my goodness, she just doesn't get it at all. It's just, oh my gosh. Okay. Anyway, Light goes on to explain why that's impossible, stating that Ella's already looking at him as a suspect, which surprises Misa.
Everyone's been saying that he's getting nowhere with the investigation and that he's a complete idiot and stuff.
That's really interesting because it aligns with what the director said back in episode 10, and it must really be a commonly held belief because it's not like Misa and the director run in the same circles, you know? It's so interesting to think that Ryuzaki is out there getting dragged, even though he's right on Kira's ass. Anyway, Light goes on to explain that he's also gotten closer to Ryuzaki as a result of the investigation.
You and Elle are in contact with each other? This is getting so exciting.
From the perspective of the audience, this reaction makes sense, but from someone caught in the middle of it, that does not seem like an appropriate reaction at all.
I'm working with him on the case, and little by little, I'm winning his trust.
What would give him the idea that he's in any way earning his trust? Because he let you join the team? I mean, you even called out the fact that he only brought you to see if you'd slip up. And from our perspective, this makes even less sense because this dude didn't even trust you enough to tell you that the first tapes came from Osaka. So this all just feels, I don't know, kind of performative? Like he's trying to make himself seem cooler or maybe more effective than he actually is? It's kind of felt that way since Light said Elle was investigating him and Misa responded with,
No way. Elle is amazing.
I feel like he didn't much care for that and is now trying to show why he's even more amazing. It just feels childish, which, to be fair, is on brand. Anyway, Light goes on to tell Misa that he can't just introduce her to him and that he'll need time to think of how best to move forward. He says the two of them can date, but adds the fact that he'll have to see other girls in order to throw Ryuzaki and the task force off their trail. And Misa, well, she ain't feeling that.
If I see you with another girl, I'll kill her.
And, okay, I just, like, what? I think Ryuk's response sums it up best.
Scary.
Because, yeah, that's pretty terrifying. She's basically like, if I even see you looking at another girl, then she's gonna have to...
Die, die, die!
Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if she ended that with...
I'll kill her.
With my hands if I have to.
Anyway, this whole conversation is just kind of migraine-inducing. Light is trying to get her to understand the severity of the situation she's found herself in, or no, the situation she's inserted herself into. She goes on and on about loving him, and he explains to her that,
What people call love is just a chemical reaction that compels animals to breed.
well, maybe not quite like that, but pretty much. I mean, really, the whole conversation shows that Misa doesn't really give a damn about making the world a better place. I mean, she explicitly says as much.
I love you more than the world, Light.
She's just a fangirl, a stan girl, if you will.
What is wrong with this girl?
Literally my thoughts as I'm watching this shit. Anyway, Light finally reaches his limit and says,
If you don't obey me, I can easily kill you.
and well, just like Misa wasn't a fan of him dating other women, Rim was not too fond of him saying that.
I would never allow that, Light Yagami. If you do anything that results in this girl's death, I will kill you.
So, 3 things. 1, I love how her shadow just sprouted up all of a sudden, as if she wasn't just standing there the whole time. Secondly, I love how everything about Light's body language changed the moment she said that. I mean, he was leaning on his desk all up in Misa's face, threatening to kill her, which he already plans on doing after this is all done. Basically, he was just being an asshole. Not that I don't understand why, but it is nice to see all that confidence and bravado melt away as Rim basically says,
I dare you, I double dare you, motherfuckers.
And thirdly, I love the energy Rim is giving off. For the most part, Shinigami seem mostly ineffectual. They're either fucking around in the Shinigami realm or trolling people here on Earth. But Rim is different. She seems genuinely terrifying. Like, it's one thing to have Ryuk threaten Light, because realistically, it's unlikely he'd follow through. I mean, at least not for something as simple as apples. However, Rim, I mean, I 100% believe her when she says that she would kill Light. There's not a hint of humor in what she's saying, and I really, really fucking love it. Shinigami should be terrifying, and she's nothing if not terrifying in this moment.
But if you were to use your death note to save her, wouldn't that mean you'd die too?
Yes, you are correct, but I'm quite willing to accept that outcome.
So this is something that my fiance pointed out to me, but that doesn't make sense. Not her being willing to die, I get that. The issue I have with this line is, if she kills the Light after he's already written down Misa's name, then Rim wouldn't die, because at that point she's not saving anyone's life. The only way what they're implying would work is if Light used some real world methods to kill her, like running her over or something. The fact that the death note abruptly ends someone's life with the stroke of a pen means Rim wouldn't be able to prevent Misa's death. She'd only be able to avenge it. Regardless, Light would still die. It's really more so whether or not Rim would die in the process as well. Anyway, their conversation is cut short when Light's mom knocks on the door and tells them that it's getting kinda late. Light, Sachiko, and Sayu then walk Misa out and she makes her way home.
Isn't she cute?
When she got here, I wasn't so sure, but you're right. She's cute, Mom.
Well, damn, Sayu. This little girl's kind of a fucking savage.
That Shinigami is going to kill me if I kill that girl? Which means I'm gonna have her hanging around me until she dies?
Nuh-uh, not until she dies, until you die, bro, because she's gonna outlive you, likely by a pretty significant amount.
Thanks to you, Rem, Light really is gonna be my knight in shining armor.
I suppose.
Rim does not fuck with Light, and I love it. She's one of only 2 people who can clearly see through his bullshit. It's actually quite the interesting thing that these 2 have in common, now that I think about it. Both able to see through it, and yet helpless to avoid stepping in it, but we'll get to it. Anyway, welcome back to How to Use It. Suicide is a valid cause of death. Basically, all humans are thought to possess the possibility to commit suicide. It is, therefore, not something unbelievable to think of. The rule itself isn't really anything we're unfamiliar with, but still, it's nice to see the thought process behind why it works. And we even got to see it in action a few episodes ago, because Naomi was far from suicidal, and yet the moment it was written in the notebook, she readily complied. Anyway, next up we have whether the cause of the individual's death is either a suicide or accident. If the death leads to the death of more than the intended, the person will simply die of a heart attack. This is to ensure that other lives are not influenced. Now, that's pretty considerate. I mean, good to know that anyone who's not the intended target of the death note doesn't have to worry about being caught up in someone else's death. Unless, of course, you're playing a different role in the death of someone, like driving the car that's supposed to kill someone like we saw in episodes 1 and 5. Though, honestly, it's still kind of fucked up if you're the person driving the vehicle that's been chosen to kill someone, because this dude from episode 5 seems low-key traumatized by what happened. But anyway, we head back to Light's room later that night as he contemplates a way to deal with Misa and Rim. His first thought is to get rid of Rim, claiming he can use a criminal to attack Misa in the hopes that Rim will intervene and save her, but ultimately realizes that that would never work.
If Misa's life was put in danger, Rem would immediately suspect me and I'd be the one who'd get killed.
Not exactly. I mean, as the rules just stated, you can't manipulate someone into doing something that will affect someone else's lifespan. But if I had to guess, Ryu probably never told him about that. Also, I love that he's just using off-brand Google. Anyway, the scene ends with with Light pondering as to how he'll be able to use Misa to finally get rid of Ryuzaki. We then transition to the next morning with Light, Sachiko, and Sayu eating breakfast. And this scene isn't really too important. It's mostly just Light telling his mom and sister to keep Misa a secret from the chief because she's an up-and-coming model. There's only two things that I really want to point out. One, the scene starts with this weird POV of Light's eyes moving between his sister and mother, and it's just really kind of weird. Like, it's such an odd artistic choice for this specific moment. Though, to be fair, there are a lot of shots like this in this episode for whatever reason. This one just really stands out to me, though. And two,
I'll keep it a secret. For $50.
I really like Sayu.
Stop it.
Ryuk seems to like her too. Anyway, we then transition to Light in class, anxiously awaiting Misa's final message to make it to headquarters.
I thought you and I were seeing each other. That is, we're more than just friends, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Could have fooled me, honestly. He just seems so disinterested. Though, to be fair, he does have a lot on his plate right now. Anyway, I do want to point out Miss Takada, as this is our introduction to her, thirsting after old Light Yagami, like basically all the women in this show. But yeah, she'll play a larger role later, but if nothing else, I wanted to point her out now. Anyway, outside of him spitting game to her, nothing really happens here. Well, except for old Mogi in the back, and I gotta be honest, when I originally saw him, I thought it was ridiculous that he'd just roll up on Light, given the fact that Light knows everyone on the task force. But that's when I realized something. Light has never met Mogi. In every scene we've seen of Light at headquarters, Mogi has never been there. I mean, he's hardly ever there in general. The only time was during episodes 6 and 7. After that, he's pretty much resigned to the NPA headquarters per Ryuzaki's request. So, since Light hasn't met him, he's the perfect person to tail him. Anyway, we then transition back to headquarters where the group is about to watch the response from the second Kida. They play the message and Misa repeats what Light told her verbatim. And when the video ends, Ryuzaki says,
After watching this, I can only think that Kira and the second Kira have managed to make contact.
Ryuzaki goes on to explain that the shift in motives, going from desperately wanting to meet Kida to being fine with just being an ally, is jarring, and speaks to the two Kidas trying to cover up the fact that they've actually met. And that makes a lot of sense. He goes even further in saying,
However, this is also one less reason to suspect that Light is Kira.
Which kind of threw me off because I wouldn't think that this would make Light appear more innocent. However, Ryuzaki explains that he doesn't believe that this is the message Light would send if he were Kida.
He would have made the second Kira go through with his plan to have me appear on TV, then denied that they ever made contact, letting the second Kira shoulder the blame for my death. And
he's right. Light literally had that thought as he was watching the second Kida's tape back in episode 12.
If this fake had any idea what my wishes were, he'd insist that Elle appear on TV and then kill him anyway.
So, in considering that, it forced me to adjust my thoughts about the tape he had Misa send in. I thought the point was to make Ryuzaki and the task force paranoid about more potential Kidas, but now I understand the additional motive behind it, which was, in fact, to make Light appear more innocent. I mean, Light does push back, claiming that's not what he would do if he were Kida, saying,
Elle would never agree to appear on TV, no matter what threat he was facing, and he wouldn't allow someone else to die in his place.
Which is actually pretty interesting, given Ryuzaki did do exactly that in episode 2, but you know, we'll chalk that up to Ryuzaki not really thinking the dude would die. Anyway, we know Light's full of shit about not wanting him to appear on TV because that is what he would have initially wanted. However, things are different now because Misa showed her hand too soon by mentioning that she had found him. If she hadn't said that, he might have still wanted her to pursue it, but now that she's confirmed that she's found him, that's no longer the smart play, therefore leading to him telling her to send in this tape. Anyway, the chief chimes in claiming that he doesn't want Light referring to himself as Kida, even hypothetically. Light goes on to explain that he only feels comfortable saying that because he knows that he isn't Kida, which prompts Ryuzaki to say that he hopes he's not Kida because,
I feel you're the first friend that I have ever had.
And something about this line seems to really affect Light, but why? I'm not entirely sure. Like, the look on his face just shows how shocked he is. Plus, we have Ryuk in the background like, It actually takes a second for Light to compose himself before responding in agreement, claiming he misses having him around on campus. It's a weird exchange, the purpose of which is not entirely clear at first glance. I mean, I have theories, one of which is that he's saying it to gauge his reaction, or he's doing it to emotionally manipulate him, or maybe he genuinely means it. But to be honest, none of those really feel all that legitimate. And so, once again, I'm posing the question to you all. Why do you think Ryuzaki said that? What was his intention behind it? The only thing that really makes sense to me is that this is him trying to get in Light's head. Basically what Ryuzaki mentioned back in episode 9 before he confronted Light.
Ideally, I would get to know him well enough that he'd admit to me that he was Kira.
But yeah, let me know what y'all think. Anyway, we then transition to Light and Ryuk walking home later that night.
A friend? He's your friend? That's a good thing, isn't it, Light?
I've got to eliminate him right away.
I see.
I find this little exchange very interesting, not just because Light didn't acknowledge what Ryuk said, but more so because it seems like Ryuk is acknowledging that Light isn't acknowledging it, if that makes sense. The addition of "I see" seems less like a response to what Light said and more like an observation of how irritated Ryuzaki's comments seem to have made Light. And I really like that because we're going to see more of that in the final moments of this episode. But anyway, while ruminating on how to handle Ryuzaki, Light is interrupted by Misa literally tackling him to the ground, claiming that she couldn't wait 2 weeks to see him again. And then we get this line.
This is the first time in my life that I've been provoked to hit a woman.
Which, for whatever reason, just reminds me of this line from this old Dave Chappelle skit.
Is Wayne Brady gonna have to choke a bitch?
But anyway, before we move on, I want to point out the fact that Mogi is still following Light, which means he's now aware of his relationship with Misa. Though, to be fair, he says,
"Another girlfriend."
So Light's tactic of having multiple girlfriends is working out in his favor. Anyway, we then transition to Light's room where he asks Rim whether or not she's Misa's ally, to which she says,
"Yes. I'd seen her many times from the Shinigami realm, and then certain events made me develop feelings for her."
Feelings? But you're a Shinigami.
I love how Ryuk just straight up laughs at her like she's a weirdo for having feelings for Misa, even though, quite frankly, Ryuk's also pretty weird himself, given he's willfully hanging out amongst humans for fun. Anyway, Light goes on to ask her whether or not she'll be satisfied if Misa is happy, to which she says she will, which then prompts Light to say,
"As you know, Misa loves me.
Oh, Light.
If I was happy, would that make you happy too?"
Yes.
This is actually really hard to watch because she just sounds so eager, even as Ryuk is in the background laughing at her for being so foolish. Like her fucking eyes are twinkling as she stares at him lovingly. Like it may not be quite as gross as what he did with Naomi, given she was innocent and Misa is, well, a mass murderer, but it just feels really fucking gross.
If you agree to kill Elle, it would only make me love Misa that much more.
Rem, I want Light to love me. It's all I ever wanted.
Fine. As you wish, Light Yagami, but I do not like you.
I fucking love that she just felt compelled to let him know what she thinks of him. She's like, fuck it, whatever, but just know I do not fuck with you. But yeah, Rem has agreed to take care of Ryuzaki for Light. It was as simple as that, really.
That was easy.
But before we wrap things up, I do want to comment on his expression. It's another really interesting aspect of this episode, and it ties directly with the whole friend comment from earlier. The look on his face, it isn't one of excitement or triumph, he just seems shocked, which to be fair is a completely appropriate response, but it just, I don't know, something about it seems off. Like, Misa seems thrilled to hear it, but Light just seems to take pause. And then there's Ryuk, who seemed to pick up on the fact that Light seemed agitated by the fact that Ryuzaki had called him his friend as they were walking home. He's just staring at him, smiling, which really doesn't make too much sense, given this seems like a relatively boring way to end the ongoing game of cat and mouse between Light and Ryuzaki. But I feel like he's smiling because of how Light's reacted, this sort of internal conflict that's arisen due to what Ryuzaki said. In my opinion, it seems as though Ryuk's having more fun seeing Light struggle with what's going to happen next. Maybe that's just me though. Feel free to let me know what y'all think in the comments. Anyway, the final line of the episode utilizes the cinematic technique I mentioned earlier, as this POV seems to be Ryuk staring at Light as he thinks to himself,
"Oh, die. That's all it took."
And roll credits. Anyway, that's the end of this episode. If you liked the video, then consider dropping a like. And if you really liked it, then consider subscribing. Anyway, that's it for this time. Until next week, friends. Peace.